Hi everyone, welcome back again to my channel. This time we're gonna fly another jet fighter from DCS. This is the Mig-15 Fagot. I guess it's a Arc Nemesis or the kind of head-to-head comparable fighters with the F-86 Sabre. This Mig-15 is of course the BIS versions, and we're gonna take a look in much more details. Let's deep dive. Okay, as you can see, this is the history of Mig-15. It's produced by Mikoyan Griffiths KB. I think it's a design bureau. There's a lot of models also similar with the F-86 Sabre. So Model S, this is from the basic model Mig-15, or even the earlier one, which is the prototype, and then without any suffix, the S, the PB, the BIS, which is the BIS. This is the one that we are currently will fly, and then the UTM, UTI, M models, and many more. I have a model, a plastic model actually built, made from manufactured by Tamiya. So here it is, the shot. I put the same number, which is 384, into the DCS one, similar with my models. Of course, the models is being maintained, so the engine is being exposed, and there's a pilot standing next to it. So this is very difficult models to build because of the metallic finish. So I'm using Alcad paint, very special paint for the metallic finish on the plastic model. So let's go back into the Mig-15 BIS from DCS. So the years of services, I think it entered years of services in 1947, and actually have longer life than the Sabre. Mig-15 operated until 2006, I think, by Albanian Air Force. It also produced almost double than the Sabre. I think Sabre is more than 9,000. Mig-15 has been produced more than 15,000, even to 17,000, I think. Operationally, I think they involved in the similar war, especially on Korean war, because they are facing head-to-head at the time. And then also Mig-15 are involved in Arab-Israeli conflict, and I think many other conflict in Vietnam also. I think they being used for trainer at the time, and many more. So yeah, it's similar kind of historical kind of experience. Of course, users are Russian, China, North Korean, East Germany, and others. All those kind of groups. The sim model itself is being produced by Belsimtek, Eagle Dynamic and Belsimtek, similar with the Sabre, also by Belsimtek. But I cannot find, as mentioned, I cannot find the Belsimtek website. I don't know if they still exist or not. You probably can put the comment down below. By the way, if you want the link to the Sabre review, my cold and dark startup, taxi, takeoff, and landing, you can find it. You can find the link below. The flight model also is professional flight model, so it's almost realistic. It's being duplicated quite well. I think mentioned it is easier to fly, and it's true. I think it's easier to fly compared to Sabre, especially on landing. It's more stable compared to the Sabre, its rival. The livery is of course Russian bare metal here, Russian Air Force bare metal. In terms of the general specifications, I think it's the dimension is 10 meters. I'm using meters because it's being measured in metrics in Russia. So 10 meters wide, also 10 meters, almost like a square. The height, I think, is around almost 4 meters, 3.7 meters. And the weight, MT1, is around 3,580 kg or 3.5 ton. I think gross weight with payload, I think up to 5,044 kg or 5 ton, and then the maximum takeoff weight is 6,105 kg or 6.1 ton. The engines is powered by Klimov VK1 with the thrust around almost 6,000 pounds or 26.5 kilonewtons. I think it's similar with the Sabre, around that numbers also. The fuel's up to 1 tons or 1,173 kg, up to 2,585 pounds. The performance maximum speeds almost similar with the Sabres. At sea level, I think around 1,076 kilometer per hour or 581 knots. Sabre slightly higher, faster. And the Mach, I think Sabre is 1.02. Here is Mach 0.87. Also because I think Mig-15 cannot really compete in almost near speed of sound, because the control, later on we're gonna take a look, is not having a all moving elevator. The stall speed, I think around 156 mile per hour. I think slightly higher stall speed compared to Sabre. Sabre, I think, is around 124, 25. Here, or Mig is around 251 kilometer per hour stall speed. So don't go below 250. It might enter a stall conditions, because by the way, I'm using 250 kilometer per hour because the gauge or the instruments is using meters or kilometers or metric. Range is around 648 to 1,000 nautical miles. So it's kind of similar with the Sabre, and the maximum ceiling is higher than Sabre, around 1,000 feet more. But yeah, almost typical. Armament, I think guns have 2 times 23 millimeters and 1 37 millimeters gun. So it's less number of gun, but higher pounding or power, higher punch power compared to Sabre with only 12.7 millimeters gun, but 6 of them. This one only 3, but 2 or 23 millimeters, which is bigger rounds, and even 37 millimeters. I think initially they being used to chase like the bomber, right? The B-27, 2029, for example, high above the sky. So the bigger round, I think it's able to punch the bigger aircraft much easily compared to a smaller round, for example. It can bring the bombs, but I think up to, not here, I think I typo, I think it's around I forgot, I think around 100 kg or 1000 kg. Sorry, 1000 kilogram bombs. So that's quite huge, I think. I think it's around 100 kg, I think. I was taken, yeah, 100, not 1000 kg, but 100 kg, kilograms. I think a smaller bomb. Anyway, I might be making a typo there, so if you know the correct one, just please give us a comment down below. Let's take a look around. So basically, as usual, in Russian aircraft, it's built for rough terrain, so the gear, landing gear, are very rough and durable compared to Sabre, for example. If you kind of hit the runway too too fast and too hard, the Sabre gear will kind of immediately broke. While this one I've tried, if you slam it to the runway, it still survives. So I think it's built for really more tough situations. Here you can see there is a kind of a blade on top of the wing. I think it's stabilizers, and there's also a red and white kind of stick coming out. That means that the gear are lowered. If you lower the flap, for example, it will pop up another stick next to it. You see that red coming out, and another one. If you lower to the maximum, there's another stick over there. There's two sticks coming out, right? It means that the flap and landing gear is lowered. So the flap is actually half, like not like Sabre, like the whole wing is the flap blade is actually lowered. This one is only half portion of the lower wing actually extended, and yeah, so it's actually 55 degree flap. And there's two step, which is this is the 20 degree flap. Let's see. Come on. Okay. This one is this one is closed. Let's push down one flap. I think it's supposed to be going down. I don't know. Okay, that is 20 degree, and then 55 degree maximum flap. Okay, and also the speed brake compared to Sabre, I think it's quite similar. This one is all at the tail section. I think the design are coming from the same kind of initial design, I guess, from German engineering at the time after World War II. And they probably got the same design aspect in general, but I think Russia have a different kind of problems with that's why they had the stabilizer here. But yeah, the Sabre, I think in overall design of aerodynamics, I guess, is much better. There are, I think this is a pitot tubes, if I'm mistaken, and the gun is down there. There's the 37, that's the big one, and that's the two 23 millimeters on the port side. Okay. I think the landing light's actually above there. Let me switch on the landing light here. So that is the landing lights. And of course, if you switch on the external lights, there's going to be like the red lights on the port side and the green light on starboard side. And I think there's a white light on the tail sections. So that is the lights. There's a long antenna. I think it's using high frequency only, no UHF. And I think during that time the UHF technology is not that developed. Yeah, in my kits also this is using a wire or a string. The overall design of the model is actually pretty good. If you can see the dirt, the grime, all there. The metallic finish is a bit dull. I think, yeah, it's supposed to be a bit shiny. I think there's a shiny versions, I guess, but this one is the normal metallic unfinished bare metals with red paint in the front of the intake. And yeah, it's really realistic paints, textures. I think it's pretty good in general. Belsimtek managed to just put quite a decent rivet all over the body, and the marking seems to be a bit clean, but should be okay. There are nice kind of depictions. Here you can see the elevators. It's actually with a smaller wing that is moving compared to the Sabre, that the whole elevator is actually kind of moving elevator. So it's able to maneuvers very good at high speed, like near the sound speed of sound. So unfortunately, I think Mig-15 by design is not able to do that. I think they changed in the later versions. What else? I think there are several, like if you go down below, there's some what do you call it, fuel opening and others, but I think it's not really important at this moment. Okay, so that is the MiG. The air intake is quite huge with the split in the middle, because there's a tube where you're sitting, and the air will be going left and right into the engines behind you. I think behind you there's also a fuel tank inside, and you can see in the guide. I'm using Chuck's easy guide, and also from Eagle Dynamic itself. Okay, so that's the walk around the aircraft. It's pretty clean, simple, nimble, also easy to fly. Easier to fly compared to Sabre F-86 F-86 Sabre Jet. I think it's in low speed. I think it will win, but in higher speed, I think it will lose to Sabre in terms of maneuver. Okay, so that's the Mig-15 in the exterior. So let's go inside the cockpit and take a look the cockpit itself. Everyone, now we are in the cockpit of the Mig-15 Bis or Bis. Let's go one by one from the left on the cockpit introduction. I won't go into too much details, but let's start from the left. Of course, first aid kit. This one is the most important one before you take off. This is the oxygen valve. I'm binding it to my rotary switch somewhere in my cockpit, DIY cockpit. This one is, I think, for the arc. I think for the radio, right? Yeah, so this one is the throttle handle itself. But before that, let me show you something. I think it's hidden over there. That is the fuel valve. So it's going to be like 0, 50%, and 100% or fully open. You have to bind this somewhere to switches or to analog access. So I'm binding into my Hotas Warthog analog access next to the throttle. So there's a lever next to the Warthog Hotas throttle. So I'm binding it. It's a nice kind of position over there. Of course, this is the flap. So this is neutral position right now. If you go pull up, it will be retracted fully, and then you put it into neutral again. This one is 20 degree, and then this is 55 degree maximum flap open. This one is to adjust the friction of the throttle, but we won't use it anyway. What else? I don't know what it is. It's not used anyway. This is for the shaft, I think. And flare, not using it. This one is not functional. This one is for the brake pressures. You can see here, if I pull this lever, I'm binding it to my VKB Hotas, a very nice replica for this kind of lever. You can see the brake pressure is kind of pressurized or maximized. This one is hydraulics, I think around 50. This for jettison the payload, and this one is several switches here. This is a fuel booster pump. This is the first one here. That is very important because you will use it on the startup, especially on the startup. and fuel booster pump, and then isolating valve switch is not used. If it's switched, this is going to light up. The here, this one behind this, actually the important one is just the ignition switch, and then this one is the engine instrument lights and light switch. So you have to turn it on for lighting up everything. And then the number 2 fuel tank pump indication signal switch. So this 1, 2, 3, 4 will switch on during ignitions. This air starter over here, there's another switch over here. It won't be used because I think it's going to be used when your engine is kind of cut off or shut off in flight, and then you have to start it out with air pressures when you're flying. So I think that's the function. Yeah, that radio navigation purposes, not gonna use this. This one is for initiating the gun, lower 23, upper 23 or lower 23. This is the 37 millimeters gun, so you have to press this one initially if you want to use the gun until all this LED is light up, meaning that the gun is ready. I think that is the switch here. Of course, this is oxygen flow, so it's kind of blinking. If it's oxygen is flowing, I think above 2000 they're gonna be activated. 2000 meter, not 2000 feet, 2000 meter they will start blinking, or 6500 feet something, it start flowing. This is of course the gear, landing gear lever, retracted, neutral, lowered. So once you retract it, I think you have to put it back to neutral or idle. There's a lock here. You have to open the lock first if you want to use the landing gear. So be careful, if you don't unlock it, the landing gear won't be able to be moved or activated. The lever won't be able to activate it. This one is the landing gear light, so it's all green meaning lowered, all red meaning retracted. Okay, so that is, I think that's all from this left side. Let's go center panel. This one is of course the compass, and this one is for adjusting the reticle of the gun sight. I haven't really learned for this one. Gonna take a look at a later stage when we are doing some gunfight. But let's go into the main panel here. This one is definitely the top left one is the most important one, which is the airspeed in 100 kilometer per hour. So it's not feet, so it's metric. So using not imperial, meaning it's used metric, and yeah, that's the kind of important numbers to remember. I think the stall speed around 200 250 below. I think if below 250 or even 200, sorry, then you are going to have some problem handling this aircraft. I think it's going to tumble to the left or right, and then you are basically stalled and then falling from the sky, and you won't be able to control the aircraft anymore. So just be careful not to fly below 200. So this is times 10. So this is 200, 300, 400 kilometer per hour, 500, 600 kilometer per hour. So yeah, so the thick needle will be the indicated airspeed, and the thin needle will be true airspeed. Yeah. The what else? The bottom one is definitely the altimeters. So it's actually using I think it's 1,000 meter, 2,000 meter, 3,000 meter, 4,000 meter, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000. Then the middle one, the inner one, the inner circle will move, indicating 10,000 above, which is 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 5,000. So there's going to be double needle for that one. There's like inner indicator that's showing that it will be I don't know, sorry, it's not in feet. It's actually up to 50,000 feet, but here in kilometer it's up to 17,000 kilometer. No, 17,000 meters. Sorry, I got mixed up. 17,000 meter maximum here. Okay, so kind of like adding up the meter here. So that is altimeters. What else? And then the below one is radar altimeters. So it's 120 meters. So things going to be in meters. So it's 120 meters. So I think it's during touchdown. You can use this one if you want to. A power switch is here. If you want to turn it on, let's try that one later on. This one is of course the what do you call it, attitude indicators. This one is a pitch, as usual, pitch angle in 10 degrees, so 20 degree, 30 degree, and this is the bang angle, this side here, bang angle. I think in 15 degree or 30 degree, up to 30 degree if I'm not mistaken. Turn and slip as usual. Below that there's this one is a clock if not mistaken. This one is a clock. This one is alarm and radar beacon marker, and also alarm. So there's some warning lights, landing gear warning lights. This one is generator off. This one, if below 4,500, the generator basically is off, so it's not charging. So it's just try to maintain above 4,500. What else? This one is of course the vertical speed. I think it in meters. So this one is in meters. I think will be meter per second. So 15 meter per second and 5 meter per second, 10 meter per second, 30, 45 meter per second. So this kind of like metrics measurement. So it's kind of a bit different compared to the US produced aircraft. Okay, what else? That goes into, this is radio magnetic compass. So I think we're going to use the radio system to navigate. This one is the heading indicator. So in north, this is east, west, and south. This is some button to fast leave the magnetic error on the compass. We're not gonna use that at this flight. This is indicator of the 300. This is the tank. So there will be 1,050 liters capacity. This one is 300 liters remaining, lights up. So 300, less than 300 liters, it will lights up. Okay, fuel line warning lights. Check fuel booster pump. If it's not activated, there will be some problem here. Number 2 tank, fuel tank empty, warning light. So if the number 2 tank empty, then it's kind of like preparing for the lower fuel capacity. What else? Let's go again. Our speed already we discussed. What else? Radio magnetic compass done. So by the way, I'm using Chuck's guide as usual. It is a very handy guide, so you can try to find out what it is. This is Mach indicator. So this is the indicator airspeed in knots. This one is the Mach indicator. I think it's up to 0.87 Mach, so it's kind of the maximum around here. So you can see that. What else? This is the engine RPM. This is very important. I think this how to read it. Basically, you have to read the internal first and then the external later. So this is the 1, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9 thousand in thousand. So basically 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 5,000 here, the inner circle, and then 6,000, and then going outside the circles, 6,000, 7, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000. So you the outer circle here basically is the for 11,000, 12,000 up to 15,000 RPM maximum. So this is the RPM indicator of the engine. So first read internal, and then I think they're gonna start around 600, 1,000, 1,200 fuel open valve, fully open, and then I think idle around here. You have to put around 4,500 for the generator to kick in, and the battery charge on here, and then you probably taxi around 5,000 to 6,000. So that is how it works, and landing around 8,000 to 9,000, 7,000 to 9,000 basically, depending on your glide slope. But yeah, and sometimes I experience above 9,000 if you are too low and you have to climb up, because the engine was going to be very sluggish, and because you open up all the flap and the landing gear, that will drag your aircraft quite significantly. So you have to put a lot of engine power in for that one. This is the temperatures, I think around below 600 degree, around here, supposed to stabilize around here. Probably exhaust gas will going up first and then stabilize around 5,000 something, almost 600 Celsius. This is the ampere of the electrical or the power usage. I think this one is, I don't know, there are lots of this is a pressure differential, but this one is cabin pressure, sorry. This one is for cabin pressure. Blue cabin pressure altitude in kilometers. Basically you want to see the cabin pressure, and the red pressure differential. So this is the different we'll not going to bother this one at this moment, but I think if you want to check the altitude with using cabin pressure, this one is the fuel pressure gauge, meaning that the fuel are boosted and engine are happy with the fuel being supplied to the engine. Okay, this one is the fuel pressure in the upper one. So this is fuel pressure in kilograms centimeters per centimeters space. This one is the fuel pressures, and this one is the oil pressures and oil temperature. I think oil temperature is going to be around 50 degree Celsius. The pressure will be probably around here, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so that is fuel pressures. The bottom part here is the gun. So basically is the indicator of the gun. This one is the 23 millimeters. The what do you call it? I think it's there's two 23 millimeter gun and one 37 millimeter gun, right? So if this lights up, meaning the gun is ready. This is the bomb arm indicator, if it's already armed. This one is to activate the bombs to be ready to be dropped. Bombs loaded lights, meaning that it's loaded. This one is drop tank power switch, so you ready to drop the tanks, I guess. We're gonna try that later on. Okay, so that is the front panel mostly. There are several related to armaments, and by the way, let's go to the stick. This one has no what do you call it? This one is air brake switch. Sorry, this one is air brake switch. This one is the safety gun covers, safety cover. So if you open it, it's kind of like zoom in a bit into, so you are able to see on the HUD. but this one is for the 37, and the 23 millimeters is actually up front. Okay, and like a normal gun trigger. I bind it into my FIKB so I can switch off and on. This one is the brake, as I mentioned, so it's pressurized the brake. This aircraft don't have any foot brake, left and right, so if you want to steer, you kind of pull to the right and then brake, and then it will kind of like, you have to like do like, yeah, something like this. So you go to slowly going to the right, and if you go to the left, push the left pedal and then brake, so it will kind of like drag into the left and then turn to the left. So it's very kind of awkward, but once you get used to it, I think it's you can do it. This one is for ejection handle, of course. It will lock and open up the and eject the canopy. Yeah, so that is on the the stick, basically. So this, I think this is the emergency landing valve, if not mistaken. Yep, that's an emergency landing valve. And also this one, a lot of breaker. So this breaker has to be switched on, except for the battery switch will not be turned on until the engine is on. Battery accumulator switch, basically it's charging switch, I think. DC generator switch will be turned on when startup. And this one is the landing light circuit breaker. This one is the trim electrical power switch. This one is the AGK47B altitude indicator and radio magnetic indicator power switch. If you want to use that, you have to switch it on. Radio power, you have to switch it on. This one also bombs power switch, emergency ordnance jettison, and ARK radio navigation power switch. And actually there's another switch up here, cannot be seen, actually radar altimeter power switch. So if you want to use this one, you have to kind of it's kind of like very difficult to see. This one cover here cannot be seen. There's a radio altimeter over here. Also, this one is the gun cannons and the gun sight power. So if you don't want to use the gun sight power, just turn it off. This one can be turned off when you are not using the gun. We are not gonna turn this on when we are doing the normal flight right now, for this purposes, not for the combat purpose. This one is for the radio navigations, and you can tune the frequency and trying to home into VOR or something. The other important one will be this switch. This is the cabin pressurization switch, or knob. So basically you turn the valve to pressurize the cockpit. Once it's pressurized, you cannot open the canopy, or if you pressurize first, you will not be able to close the canopy. So don't tweak this knob until the canopy close, and then you pressurize the cabin. This is the radio, the high frequency radio. By the way, they don't have any at the time, no UHF or something, so only high frequency signals. I think I'm just using kind of easy mode just for the ease of communicating with ATC. But if you want to simulate accurately, you might use that radio panel, okay, bind into something. This is a very nice cockpit, clean, quite clean. You can see here just several marking here, kind of being several scuff in the paint. This one is like several dirt, I guess, or some kind of wear and tear was quite decent, modest, I guess, not too kind of too much, but I think it's quite okay. I'm not sure what is this. I think it's kind of metal structures. Yeah, so that's quite odd, but I think it's original. So I think Belsimtek has created a very nice cockpit as usual. It's quite realistic. Okay, so we are here in Caucasus maps, somewhere north, and we're gonna start the cold and dark start procedures. Okay, so we are ready to do the cold and dark startup procedures. So the first thing, because there's no parking brake in this aircraft, so you have to request choke. So let's F8, F4 and place chocks.
Установить колодки. Прием. Командир, колодки установлены.
Okay, спасибо. Basically, thank you. So the chocks are in. I think we have to, because there's no, you cannot use the battery to start up, so you have to use a ground equipment. So you have to request again F8 and request F2 ground equipment, electric power to on.
Подключить питание. Прием. Командир, наземное электропитание подключено.
Okay, spasiba again. Now they're already in, so you can see here the 3 landing lights is green, meaning that electrical is in from the outside. Okay, before we start up, we might request startup kind of request startup permits to, let's do where the mistaken. Let's see if it's I don't know.
Краснодар, 100-й, запуск.
I don't think I have switched on the radio, but anyway, I don't think the radio working because the frequency is not set up, and I have to use kind of I need to read the manual again on how to switch on the radio. Oh yeah, because there's no the radio is not yet switched on. Okay, so let's switch on all the switch here. First, let's, without the battery, let the battery off. This one on. Well, you have to take a look here. On. This one, of course, on. There's another one here, the radio. So the gun LED and the gun sight won't power it, so it's not going to show anything here, I think. And now things are in. Let's contact the radio if it's already on. Yep, it's already on. Let's F1 and request startup.
Краснодар, 100-й, запуск.
1-0-0. Краснодар. Запуск разрешаю.
Okay, clear for startup. So let's switch this switch, and this is the fuel booster pump, and the ignition here. You can yep, you barely see it, and this one is the lights, instruments, and everything. So everything is going to light, and instrument is now working, and this is number 2 form in fuel pump fuel indicators. So it's going to light up here. So now we are ready to start up the aircraft. So what you can do is basically you open up this kind of protective cover. I'm binding it into my hot ass switch. So let's open. So you see it's open. So there's a push button here which you can push. I'm also binding it to my hot ass left red button in the left side of the throttle. So if I push this one, it will crank basically the engine, and it will start spooling up the RPM into around here 600, and then you have to open up the fuel pump, which I already show you down there. It's very difficult. You cannot get into the mouse very easily over there. So yep, over there. So you have to bind it definitely, because it's very difficult to reach. Once I start up, it will rise 600, open up 50%, and then if it reaches 1,200 here around the inner circle around 1,200, then fully open the valve, the fuel valve next to your seat, to fully open. So that will make the engine idle, I guess. Then you bring the throttle up to 4,500 for this generator to work. Okay, so let's do it. So let's crank and pushing this button, pushing my hot air spark hawk. So it's already like increasing to 600. So open up the valve to 50%. So it's increasing to 1,200. Make it fully open. The valve, remember, the fuel valve. So now it's already like almost like 2,500. So it's kind of like idle around 2,500. Temperature also reduced to 500, so it should be okay. This one is kind of like a lower idle, I think, but the generator it won't work. Okay, up to below 4,500. So let's push the throttle up to around 4,500. Be careful, it's not instant. The engine, the old engine like the Sabre, is Mig-15. So you see, reaching 4,000, more than 4,400, I guess, 4,000, almost 4,500. The generator lights is off, meaning that it's working. And now we can turn off the battery switch here. And I think because it's very noisy, let's we can toggle the switch here, the canopy handle up here, to close the canopy, or bind it with your switch. So I'm binding it into my vertical left panel. So the cockpit is now closed. It's a bit nicer, not noisy. And we can also turn on the oxygens. I'm turning the oxygens valve. Okay, so oxygen is ready to flow when it's needed. And also we can pressurize the canopy here. Let's put into low or yellow color. Now the canopy has been pressurized and it won't be able to be opened manually with your by pulling this one or pulling that one. It's locked basically. Okay, so before we start up, we're gonna do several things first. We're gonna unlock the landing gear. So it's something over here. You have to unlock this one, or I bind it into my vertical panel, and you see the pin is gone here, meaning that the landing gear lever can be actuated. You can also switch on the external light and the landing gear light. So I'm also binding into my key. Oops, where's the this one is the landing lights over here. I think it's already lights up. Let's see up front. Come on, where is it? Oh, okay. Is it lights up? No, I think it's not yet lights up. I have to bind it basically. Okay, so that is the lights on. I think I'm binding the wrong key. I think that's the emergency landing gear light. Anyway, I already switch on the lights here and external lights. You can see here there's red and green and white lights over there, and this is the landing gear already lights up. Okay, so everything is lights up and we are ready to go. We won't use the gun, so we won't activate this pyrotechnic guns, and we don't want to light this gun up today, but we're gonna do it later at other occasions on the combat practice, for example. Okay, so now we are ready, and before we go, definitely we have to detach the ground supply, electric power. F2 off.
Отключить питание. Принял. Командир, наземное электропитание отключено.
Okay, Spasiba is already off. We are now ready to roll, but one more thing, because we haven't removed the choke, so let's remove the choke. Remove F2.
Убрать колодки. Принял. Командир, колодки убраны.
Okay, choke has been removed, so we are ready to go basically, and let's taxi to the runway on our going to the left side. So in front of us is actually the runway, so we're gonna request taxi F5 1, request taxi to runway.
Краснодар, 100-й. Отмена взлета.
1-0-0. Заруливайте на стоянку.
Oh, parking area. Anyway, I don't know why they are asking us. Let's see, F1. Not arrival. Why is auto? Anyway, I think there's something wrong with it. This ATC F1. No, yeah. We are not going to do that. I think there was something wrong with it. Why I was arrival, but we are just departing. Okay, so to move, I think you have to roll around 6,000 above. So let's put the RPM on our right side here to 6,000 to start moving, and be ready with your brake. Your brake will be and push your rudder first to the left and then brake. So basically it will turn the aircraft. You just kind of flying the brake and then put the rudder into the right. Slow down a bit, it's too fast, and push the brake into several times to the right. Counter with the left rudder if you want to make it straight. Can we request something? No. Yeah, I think the ATC is not correct. So let's push the right rudder and brake. Several brake. Kind of like, this is quite odd, but yeah, once you get used to it, you will be okay. Put the rudder to the right again. Trying to brake here. Counter with the left one until it's straightened up a bit. Okay. Okay, you are ready here. From here, you can use flap or not. I haven't used the flap, but after 200, almost 250, you can take off basically. So here the runway is quite long. If it's short runway, you can use 20-degree flap, but if not, then you don't have to use the flap. So I'm okay. Let's now take off. Okay, so let's take off. You can push the brake first, and then let's pull up the engine. And release. Maximum. Just watch the airspeed. Now it's almost 200. You can slightly pull off the stick toward you. Slowly it's going to tilt to the left, and positive climb, you can gear up basically. So gear up. Until it's all red, and then put on neutral. Okay, we are okay, so we are put this to neutral already. Let's turn off the landing lights and slow down the throttle. So we are climbing to above 2000. So let's climb above the cloud. So basically we are near the lake, so it's very beautiful. Morning, I think morning here. Yeah, it's to the no, this is afternoon, I think. Yeah, because the sun is on the west. No, wait a minute. No, it's morning. Sun in on the east. I just misread the compass. So we are climbing above the clouds and turning. I think we're going to go around the lake to the west, and we are flying above the cloud here. So the engine is quite slow, just like Sabre. So it's an older engine. I think it's Klimov VK1. So it's almost the same power with the Sabre. Of course, with the different flight control from the Sabre, it won't be able to maneuver much better in the near the Mach 1 or near the sound of speed. So you can see the oxygen flow mirror blinking on the left side. It means that it's now working. So we are now above the cloud around 3,000, or I think it's around 9,000, 10,000 feet, almost 10,000 feet right now, or 9,000, yeah. Because 2,000 meter here is actually around 6,000, so 4,000 is around 12,000 feet now. So we are around 12,000 feet above the cloud right now. So we're gonna enjoy the morning. Very nice scenery here. Okay, and yeah, we cannot see anything up here. So there is some hints over there. There's a city, I think. There's a town, sorry. There's a town down there. On our left. I think we are close to the end of the lake. So we need to go down into 2,000 meter. Or around 6,000 feet again, to be able to go around and try to land back into our initial airport. I forgot the name of the airport. I think it's up north, near the Russian border rather than the southern border in the Caucasus map. So that's the lake. This is the opening. So there's the big town over there as our reference later on when we are closing into. So let's slow down a bit to 10,000 RPM. We still have plenty of fuel because we have carried full tank. this is a very nice lighting. 2.7 bring DCS to another level, I guess, compared to 2.5 versions with all the good lighting, clouds and weather effect. It is amazing view. You can play hide and seek in the cloud if you are in combat, for example. This is using overcast number 1 setting, so it's very nice. Okay, so let's go down into lower altitudes. So I put 9,000 RPM and we are descending. To below the clouds so we can see the ground better, because we are not using any IFR or radio navigations right now, so we are flying visual. So I think we can already turn back to our initial airport. So still going down around to 2,000 meters. So by the way, this is meters, metrics, not feet. So around 6,000 feet. So that's our airport over there on our left. So we're going to try to land. Okay, so we are at 6,000 feet or 2,000 meters and below the cloud. So we're gonna line up first with the runway, and then we're trying to slow down the aircraft for direct landing. We are not going to use we are not going to turn around basically. So we can now already trying to slow down here. Let's line up first, and let's slow down the aircraft after that. Oops, I think we have to descend a bit. We're still quite high. Yep. Okay, we basically line up now, and let's put the air brake out. So the air brake, oh, that's a air brake switch, sorry. That's not radio, I forgot. In the first mention, that's a air brake switch. Okay, we are slowing down. At 400 meters we can lower the gear basically, and we have to use the RPM around 8,000 to 9,000, between that. I think it's supposed to be okay. I think 450 should be good to deploy the gear. And I think around 400, less than 400, we can deploy the 20 degree. Let's line up at the runway, because once you are on the flap, it's very difficult to see the front of you, because it's the high angle of attack. So you better more or less line up with the runway. And yeah, so let's gear down. Okay, gear are down, all green. Let's put 20 degree flap first to slow down further. Here you might increase your power a bit, because it's going to slow down quite fast, and you don't want to kind of end up too short. Okay, landing lights on. flap all down, and I think you can try to kind of trying to line up further with the runway. The speed is quite okay right now, but be careful. I think the most difficult thing is to really trying to maintain the speed in the 270 or 250 regions, not below it, because you are going to have a kind of a stall situations if it's okay. I'm not lining up, unfortunately, but come on. Okay. Sorry guys, I think it's a very nice landing but not line up, unfortunately.
Один, ноль, ноль. Заруливайте на стоянку.
Okay, so that is very smooth landing, but it's veering off to the left, almost out of the runway. I'm gonna keep it because it's not easy landing in this aircraft and trying to maintain the speed. It's just horrendous, and this is I think my third times trying, so fourth times. So it's better than Sabre, but it is much more controllable, I guess, much more easier than Sabre, comparable if I compare to Sabre for landing. But yeah, it's not easy either, because the engine is kind of a slow response compared to the modern engine, for example. So yeah, you have to just be careful on not to fall below the stall speed, and then you're gonna crash into the to the runway, like really hard landing. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges with the older jets, I guess, because you don't have any augmentation in the flight control, or in this case on the power. The engine is very slow response, so you cannot like doing a very quick response. Okay, so you kind of like pumping the brake to turn, basically. So it's very odd, right? So it's, but like like you are like trying to. Okay, I think it's we are a bit not lined up, but should be okay. This is a parking area. So that's it, guys, and I almost running out of the runway, outside the runway, but I'm having quite a smooth landing. I managed to touch down smoothly without, crashing the aircraft into the runway with a high speed. So should be okay, I think. Let's see the replay later on, but before that we're gonna shut down the aircraft first. I'm still putting the brakes, so let's call the ground crew for choke, wheel choke place.
Остановить колодки. Прием. Командир, колодки установлены.
Okay, спасибо. Let's release the brake. So I'm okay now. The aircraft are on very low idle speed, RPM, and we are ready to shut down the aircraft. Very simple. You just shut off the fuel, basically the fuel valve, remember? So you just shut off the fuel, it will shut down the aircraft basically. So let's shut down. Okay, and then you can open the canopy. Oops, sorry, that's why you have to first depressurize the cockpit, then the cockpit will be able to open. Okay, and also the oxygens, where is it, the oxygens? Ooh, come on, oxygens, and then switch off, off, and all this thing off. Come on. Okay, lights off, sorry. Okay, that's it guys, and this is my actually I bought this modules long time ago, but I haven't been able to try this modules and learn about it. Now I've done it, and I think I'm going to continue practicing the landing, so it's make perfect lineup rather than to the left or to the right. But trying to land smoothly is one of the things that you can try first. Yeah, so it's very kind of enjoyable compared to the Sabre or F-86F Sabre. The Sabre is a bit tricky on landing. This one is a bit much more easier to handle. Yeah, so but again, the same type of engine, slow response, and you have to manage your airspeed better. There's no augmentation, there's no indication of your glide path or angle of your AOA, for example, whatever. So this is very basic aircraft to fly with. Okay, so here is very beautiful Caucasus winter morning. So let's see the replay.